Hello and a very warm welcome to everybody. I am Shreya Agrawal and with me is in conversations a very interesting guest today. It's Rahul Garg of Moglix. Rahul has had a very interesting journey. Moglix is trying to redefine as they position themselves the B2B commerce and supply chain ecosystem in India. This idea of reimagining B2B commerce is not necessarily a novel or a novice idea. We have seen companies in the past also do this. And of course, there are comparisons drawn to the likes of Alibaba or India Mart. So, what is it that you are doing which others did not?
No, I think it's an interesting question because as I was moving back to India from the stint, I think one of the areas which excited me is that we have seen the world, whether it is the consumer commerce or whether it is the Google search, we have seen the world move away from a search or classified behavior to a very transaction oriented platforms. So you take any example of a business, whether you take Amazon, Flipkart as one proxy, you can take Swiggy, Zomato as another proxy, Ola, Uber as another proxy. What used to be the behavior 10 years back was pretty much you were looking for a classifieds platform to find a service provider. But the service provider then takes the responsibility of fulfilling that particular product need or a service need. World is moving, and I'm heavily skewed towards the fact that all the things that consumers or businesses were in past doing by having a search behavior will move towards a transaction oriented platforms. And when I started Moglix, it was interesting because the consumer commerce was booming, but there was nothing that the businesses could actually do from a transaction point of view on any of the platforms. So we literally said we will be Alibaba 2.0. We've been passionate about manufacturing as a sector. It is close to 20% of our GDP.
True, yeah.
So we said we are going to go after a sector. I grew up in Faridabad, which is known as the manufacturing hub for the longest time in the country. So there was common roots there. And we said we are going to go after this sector, which has, I think, for the several decades, not touched by technology, not touched by efficient thoughts on distribution, and we are going to transform it.
But there's a certain kind of slowdown that we are seeing right now. How does that really impact your business? Because you're directly linked with the B2B commerce and supply chain side of it.
If you look at the macro economy factors, if you have to become a $5 trillion economy or maybe going down further into an even larger economy, manufacturing and agriculture, if I was to take two as a proxy and maybe services as a third proxy, manufacturing will be a core part of what the economy will be there. There can be always quarters that depending on the consumption pattern, depending on what is the tax structure for certain products, or depending on what is the liquidity available in the market for financing, things can seem like they are slowing down.
Yeah.
But it's all about some of those factors which need to be tuned because if I think about 2022, 2025, I mean, we have so much of consumerism that is coming into the country, and consumerism is all about growing products. I mean, whether you start from this cup or table, or all of these are getting manufactured somewhere.
Can you perhaps highlight what have been the high points in your journey till now?
GST is a very interesting inflection point because if you look at it, the sector that we serve used to always have excise and VAT and those kind of complicated tax structures which were involved in every single transaction. Now, with the advent of GST, suddenly your distribution economy in the country needs to be rebuilt.
Yeah.
Because sitting in Delhi NCR, I can say that there are 5 states which are neighboring Delhi. And in the old economy, we would have 5 different stocking points because they are different states. And now suddenly you say, within the 200 kilometer radius, can I build largest of warehouse? Can I build the supply chain which can service the need for this radius? And that is the change that has happened back in 2017 when we had GST coming our way. So then I think GST is one of the big inflection points for us. The second one I couldn't think about is this continuous move for the country towards digital as a means, mobile as a means is continuing to help us. And there are companies which may seem far away from us, consumer commerce company, but they changing the behavior of every single consumer to think about using mobile for a transaction, using the change in behavior from an offline to an online world or a technology enabled world is continuing to help us because businesses suddenly feel they are irrational if they're using Ola and Flipkart and they're not using Moglix.
But how big can this business really become, B2B e-commerce, and how is it really comparable to the consumer e-commerce space?
Let's combine the offline transactions and the online transactions as one bucket, right? Because today Flipkart, Amazon, or others might be taking a small portion. If you look at it, for every single consumer product that is sold, there are probably 2 or 3 B2B transactions that have happened before that product. So when a mobile phone is getting manufactured, there are probably 3 transactions, first on their supply side, second on the distribution side that has happened. So on a macro basis, B2B is more than 2x of a B2C commerce that is happening in the online world and a combination of offline. So the real relevant question is, how big can you be compared to any of the consumer commerce companies we build, and how fast that transition will happen? Because yes, they are probably at 10 to 15% of the industry becoming online. For us today, we are sitting at less than 0.5% of the industry coming online. The question is how fast this 0.5% will become 5%, 10%, 15%.
So tell me one thing, you have had a 4-year runway now. So give us some sort of numbers indication that where are you in the business, how big your business is, give us some GMV indication also.
If you look at it, we are today working with more than 1,000 plus manufacturing companies. So these are companies across automotive, steel, mining, FMCG, you name a manufacturing industry, we are working across them. We are working with more than 7,000 plus suppliers. We are present in close to 15 locations with 600 of us working day in and day out with manufacturing companies. We have been growing at a rapid rate while building this out. I would say that we power more than maybe $10 billion worth of manufacturing industry today. Using some way or shape, Moglix is touching them in some capacity.
And you're loss making?
I think loss is an interesting word because it can be construed in 2 manners. One, do you lose on transaction, or as a company are you including capex and opex profitable? So do we lose money on transaction? The answer is no. Do we as a company have a break even from all the capital that we have raised? The answer is no.
So give us some insights into your business in terms of how have you spruced up your supply chain, how does your back end look like?
So if you look at it on our supply side, you can typically expect that Chavdi Bazaar, which is like the old distribution economy, or Lower Chal in Bombay, or Perry's Corner in Chennai. I mean, like these are what the distribution has been like in the country for last 100 years. Now we are saying now there will be a new India distribution that will be created over the next 10 years. And we are really gung-ho about creating that because we don't believe the Chavdi Bazaars or Lower Chals are the kind of supply chain or the kind of distribution that they have are the ones which can serve an economy of $5 trillion or $10 trillion. On the customer side, again, it is very, very important because when they are walking on this journey of change with you, they are choosing between old Indian distribution and a new India distribution. And it is very, very important for us to realize that once they move in this direction, they want to make this successful. They don't want to go back to an old school distribution anymore. And therefore, it becomes our responsibility to make sure that it happens in a seamless manner. It happens with high degrees of success.